You don't need hours of quiet, uninterrupted time in a cabin in the woods to finish your book. For years, I told myself if I could just have that perfect space and tons of time, which is impossible to get, I could actually finish my novel. But the reality was that I didn't need more hours, I needed better hours. I needed to quickly and reliably access something called flow, a highly focused mental state conducive to productivity. You might have heard of it. Look, my name is Carson Long, and I'm here to help you become a better, more productive writer. And in this video, I'm gonna share practical ways that you can find flow fast so that you can write more, write better, and actually enjoy the process. Flow is the mental state when you are fully immersed in what you're doing. Time disappears, your inner critic quiets down, finally, and your creativity takes over. And here's the good news, it doesn't take long to get there. Flow can exist in as little as 5 minutes if you know how to trigger it. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who coined the term flow, spent decades researching how people reach peak performance and deep enjoyment in their work. And he found that flow happens when 3 key conditions are met. 1, you have a clear goal. 2, you get immediate feedback. And 3, you're doing something that's challenging, but not too hard. When you hit these 3 conditions, your brain releases a powerful mix of chemicals, and that mix helps you focus deeply, feel motivated, and enjoy the process of working. So flow isn't just the key to being more productive, it's the key to making your writing sessions more satisfying too. And the best part is, with the right setup, you can even enter the flow state in the smallest pockets of time. How to access the flow state. So how do you actually do that? How do you create these conditions that help you enter flow, especially when life is just busy and your writing time is limited? Let's break it down into 4 simple strategies that you can start using today. Step 1, set a clear goal. One of the fastest ways to access flow is by getting specific about what you're going to work on before you even open up your computer. Instead of sitting down with this vague intention to work on your book, give your brain something concrete to focus on, like I'm going to write a scene where my main character finds out the truth. Or I'm going to revise the conversation in chapter 3 to make the tension feel stronger. When your goal is too broad, like work on my novel or be productive, your brain has to do extra work just to figure out where to start. And that creates friction, and friction keeps you out of flow. Specific goals reduce decision fatigue. You might have heard that before. They help you start faster, stay focused longer, and feel a stronger sense of progress as you go on. Your goal doesn't have to be big and impressive either. In fact, it's often better when it's small and manageable, especially if you only have a short window of time. For example, write 300 new words in chapter 4, or fix the opening paragraph of my query letter, or draft the first half of the dialogue for that coffee shop scene. Choose something that fits the time and the energy that you actually have, not the version of yourself that just got back from vacation and had 8 hours of sleep last night. Because that doesn't happen very much. Shout out sleepy people. A small focus goal gives you a target. And once your brain knows what it's aiming for, it can finally quiet down all of that background noise and lock in. And that's what we want. We want to lock in. Step 2, match challenge to your current skill. One of the key components of flow, according to Csikszentmihalyi, is that the task needs to hit the just right zone, the Goldilocks zone. Not too easy, not too hard. Think of it like this. If you're writing a scene that you've already mentally rehearsed a dozen times and it's coming out exactly as you expected, which is good, your brain might actually start to check out. It's not challenged, and you'll find yourself reaching for your phone, staring out the window. Look, you just aren't engaged. But on the other hand, if you're writing something that feels out of your depth, like a complex emotional confrontation, or if you're writing in a genre you're not familiar with, or if you're in a really technical part of your book, sci-fi authors know what that's like, you might start to feel frustrated or anxious. That's your brain signaling that this is above your skill level. It's above your pay grade. Flow lives in that sweet spot between those two extremes. You want a task that stretches you just enough to keep your brain fully engaged, but not so much that it causes tension or panic. That would be bad. Great in theory, but how do we actually do that in practice? If a scene is feeling too easy, try adding some sort of constraint to spice things up. For example, set a word count limit and challenge yourself to be more concise, be more efficient with your words. Shift the scene into a different point of view, or a different tense, or from a different perspective to see what's going to be the most effective. And ask yourself this, really ask yourself, if this scene doesn't engage you as a writer, how will it engage the reader? Maybe that scene itself needs to be reworked. These small changes can re-engage your brain and keep the writing process fresh and interesting, which is so nice. If something feels too hard though, break it down into smaller pieces. Let's say you're stuck on a battle scene or like this really deeply emotional moment. Ask yourself, what's this one simple thing that I do know about this scene? You're getting overwhelmed. Go to that simple thing, start there, sketch out the beats, do a little planning. You may not be a pantser, you may be a plotter, or you could write the dialogue first, or you could just take some time and describe the setting. Break that big task into small things. Also remind yourself, you don't have to write it perfectly right now. If it's blocking you, leave a note in your draft like finish emotional scene here and move on. You're gonna edit over and over again. You can return to it later when you're better prepared to tackle that scene. Now, matching challenge to skill isn't about lowering the bar. That's not the point here. It's about finding the level of tension that keeps you in the game. That tension creates energy. It wakes up your brain, and that's when that flow kicks in. Step 3, remove friction that breaks your momentum. All right, this is a big one. Friction kills flow. And as writers, we often create friction for ourselves without even realizing it. We might do something like stopping mid-sentence to go research a date, or fact check, or reread something and edit as we go. Or if you're like me, letting your inner critic interrupt us every couple lines. Instead, go back to your goal. If you're in a research session, awesome. Go wild, researching and chasing down rabbit holes. But if you're trying to get words on the page, don't let distractions get in the way of your writing sessions. And here are some strategies that have worked for me. Use placeholders like XXX or brackets. Add detail here when you hit something and you're not ready to write. Save editing for a separate session. Do not go back and read what you've written just to touch up little things. And finally, give your inner critic a little break. They'll have plenty of time to speak up later, I promise. Step 4, get immediate feedback. One of the key components of flow is that you can see and feel your progress as you're making it. And that's what we mean by immediate feedback. It doesn't have to come from a critique partner or an outside editor or a friend or family member. It can be as simple as watching your word count go up and noticing that you've just completed a full scene, or even just feeling that the dialogue is flowing naturally and sounding good. That's a good feeling, embrace that. This kind of feedback creates a positive loop. You are writing, you see that you're making progress, your brain releases dopamine, shout out brains, and you want to keep going. But if your writing session feels murky, or if it feels aimless, like you're just typing to fill the time, just trying to finish the next sprint, it's hard for your brain to register that progress, and flow becomes harder to access. To create that feedback loop for yourself, try this. Tracking your word count during short sprints is a great way to do this. Set a timer for 25 minutes and see how much you write. Check off small wins, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Check off wins like completing that paragraph or scene or chapter or sequence that you've been writing. Acknowledge that. Write in a format that gives you visual feedback, like using Scrivener or Google Docs, and you can see your document expanding in real time. You can also build in emotional feedback, moments where you feel, hey, that line works, or hey, that interaction felt good or felt real, or this character feels unique. That internal sense of motivation and momentum is just as powerful as external validation, for most people, I think. The important thing is to notice and name your progress as it's happening. That's how you stay engaged. That's how your brain knows that this is working, and that's how you stay in flow. Bonus, trigger flow every time by creating consistency. Here's one more thing that makes a huge difference, especially if you want to access flow quickly and consistently. Look at me. Create a routine. Flow loves familiarity. The more consistent your writing conditions are, the faster your brain learns, it's time to focus. And that doesn't mean you need a perfect aesthetic setup. You don't need candles or like that perfect playlist, unless they help you, of course. It just means doing small things the same way each time. Writing at the same time of day is a piece of advice you hear from so many writers. Using the same writing tool, sitting in the same chair or being in that same room, or opening your writing session with a small ritual, like reading the last paragraph that you wrote, or setting that same 25-minute timer. And I know this sounds crazy, but these are all cues to your brain that this is the moment that we focus, and the more you do it, the better. Think of it like muscle memory, but for your brain. The more you practice entering the flow under the same conditions, the easier and faster it becomes. It's almost like flipping a switch. So let's bring it all together. You don't need more hours in a day to be a productive writer. You just need to understand how to access flow and how to create the conditions that make flow possible. So set a clear goal. Match the challenge to your current skill. Remove friction. Notice your progress in real time and build a writing routine that tells your brain it is time to focus. When you do all of that, even in short bursts of time, you will start writing more, you'll start writing better, and you will enjoy the process again. If this has helped you, I'd love for you to hit the like button and subscribe to StoryLab. Look, we share weekly videos just like this one to help you master the craft, the mindset of the writer, and the habits that you need to write a book that you want to write, the book you've been dreaming about. And also, let me know in the comments, what's one change that you're gonna try to make this week to access flow faster in your own writing sessions? I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time, happy writing.